I just sold a gentleman a Model 3. He was the youngest kid in their family, just graduated, got his first job. The only kid in their family, or the only person without a Tesla.
Welcome to EV Insider by Recurrent, where we make it easier to buy and sell electric cars by giving you access to leaders from across the industry. Let's get started.
My name's Tony Lopez. I'm our manager, jack of all trades at IQautos. I wear a lot of hats. I do a lot of things. We don't have like traditional sales managers and stuff. I still do sales with our team on a daily basis now. When I first started working at our dealer almost 20 years ago, I thought it was a tech group. But now it's, man, all the TikTok, just, I'm trying to play around with some stuff. And, I wished I had a full media team.
So you went from like being the Google Sheets expert to the one of the highest volume sellers of EVs in the country. So you got somewhere.
Prior to that, we were pretty much just selling BMWs and European cars.
Okay.
And during COVID, it really put a hamper on the inventory. All the off-lease supply went away. We went from seeing 1,000 cars a day on certain sites to, maybe 30, 40, 50. And there was just like no meat to eat, with the BMWs. So we just kept selling more and more Teslas. The more Teslas we got, I feel like the more people kept asking us like, hey, can you get one of these in? Can you get this? And then we just slowly started growing. And
do you guys have a physical location or are you all virtual?
Yep. We're just north of Atlanta. Not a huge dealer, but we stock about 100 cars roughly.
Okay. And what percentage of them these days are EVs?
80%. At least 80, maybe 90 at sometimes. Yeah. Pretty much everything we have that's not an EV is a trade-in.
What percentage of them are Tesla versus something else?
Before we get into the Teslas, I mentioned we pretty much only sold BMWs before them. We've always tried to have our niche. When I first started working for the company, we sold all suite of cars, Saabs, Volvos. We were into the family car, efficient, safe. Then we got into BMWs, and towards the end of the BMW we sold a ton of BMW i3s. I mean, 1 out of 100 BMW i3s I probably sold.
Funny little golf carts things, but people love them. I don't know, it's the two-tone paint job or what it is.
If you lived in the city of Atlanta, to have one of those with a range extender that you can go 150 miles on and just keep topping it off with 2 or 3 gallons of gas or whatever and go another 50 to 100 miles, that's an awesome car. I mean, even still right now, their batteries hold such good range. Even the older ones, I mean, we get people that still want to trade those in. And when they're there and we're looking at the battery health, we're like, wow, man, this thing's still 90%. So those things were ahead of the curve and what they were offering, manufacturing with all the carbon fiber, reinforced plastic body parts and everything. I mean, they had McLaren body parts.
What led you from being the i3 king of the world to the Tesla king?
So again, just COVID, BMW's supply dwindled and we were looking for other cars and we just kept selling more Teslas every month. We just kept buying more, selling more. And
where are your buyers from? Are you mostly serving folks in the Metro Georgia, Atlanta area, or are they just everywhere?
All over the country. We sell cars. Yeah, you name it.
Where do you acquire inventory from typically, from a Tesla perspective?
Our owner, Jim Thompson, I mean, he's buying all over the country, just normal Manheim, Odessa auctions, dealer trade-ins. I feel like those are some of the best buys.
The dealer trades.
Yeah, 4 dealer trades in the car and they don't know what they have, so they bring it to an auction. And not as many people are always watching that Ford auction, selling a couple Teslas or whatever.
Okay. And so how do people find you on the buy side? If you're serving people all over the country, how did you turn into not just the Georgia king of Teslas, but, nationally?
All the third-party sites, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, Carfax, Facebook. We go in groups. I mean, even the owner of our company, he's in all these groups and he'll be buying cars and, looking on Facebook. And I think last month he found us 3 or 4 clients that were just on Facebook looking for a car. And, we were like, hey, we didn't have this, but we're watching this auction tomorrow. We can get you this Model S flat and we'll do a flat percentage above our cost and you just come pick it up. Money back guarantee if you don't like it.
Yeah. Okay. Paint me a picture of how September 30th, EV rebate deadline day went down for you guys. What was it? Just absolute mayhem?
Yeah, work until 9 o'clock every night. We just had people there. I mean, the last day of the month, I stayed till like almost 10 o'clock. People were waiting around. They just wanted to get their tax credit card before Ford expired. The day after, I had a guy come out, got approved on a Model 3 Performance, and like I was just so perplexed. I'm like,
Wait, hold on. You sold a used EV, a used Tesla, the day after the rebate was over, right? Like the narrative is nobody buys a single EV, in Q4, and yet you're selling one the next day.
oh yeah. I mean, we have a lot of people wanting Teslas. The buyers are kind of becoming more transactional where they're going from that early adopter to now you're starting to see like second, third, fourth time EV buyers that, just know they like EVs and they're there. 3, 4 years ago, I didn't think that person was going to be like that. But now I've seen families of people. I just sold a gentleman a Model 3. He was the youngest kid in their family, just graduated, got his first job. The only kid in their family, or the only person without a Tesla.
The data out there is around like that you often hear about is about loyalty, right, to the electric fuel type. And, generally speaking, I think everybody sort of has seen a lot of this. 90% of people, when they go electric, they don't go back. Okay. And you can imagine how that eventually does kind of transform the market. But
Yeah.
the thing you just pointed out is really interesting is if 90% of people, they go electric, they don't go back, but then they also, when they buy the car for their kid or their uncle or their aunt or whatever, there's going to be some additional follow-on activity there for the rest of the family, basically, which also, it's almost like it spreads like a virus, which
It
is a
really
really
does.
interesting observation you've got there.
Especially with younger kids that are like coming out of college, getting their first job, that saw their parents owning a Model 3, a Model S, you name it. They're a younger generation. They're very like adapt to using their phone and apps for everything. And when you learn the functionality of a Tesla with the app, those kids are probably an additional user on their parents' app and they know everything about it.
Yeah, that's cool. There are a lot of things that I think like we don't know about where the EV market goes in 2026. Like what new EV adoption is going to be like. I mean, a lot of people speculating on that, how it's going to differ from state to state, all kinds of things. Like what are just one or two things that you feel like you can set your watch by? This is going to be true next year.
I feel like there will be some depreciation. I feel like there's going to be a lot of inventory that kind of hits the market. Personally, like I'm really looking forward to getting some of these BMW electric cars, like the iXs, the what do they call their I? It's not the i3, but they're like their 3 Series and their 4 Series
Yeah.
electric sedans, their 5 Series electric, just all the BMWs, some of the Audi e-trons, the Hondas. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes on the market, and I think Teslas hold their value better than the others, but some of these other like European brands, just feel like you're going to be able to get some really good deals on those. So I'm looking forward to selling some different brands of EVs.
So do you feel like maybe as you guys expand to other models just besides Tesla that you would have a situation where somebody comes in on the Tesla, and then you're like, hey, do you want to try, do you want to test drive this Lyriq? Do you want to test drive this BMW? So you can kind of get a side-by-side comparison and maybe you end up switching them towards the end?
I could very well see that happening into 2026.
Yeah.
Having more.
There's just more choices. Yeah, more.
There's so many people out there that had a BMW or had an Audi or had a Nissan, a Volkswagen, and they had a great experience with it. And they're like, man, I love electric cars. I just wish I can get this, a little more affordable. When BMW's 3-year old, 2-year-old off lease EV starts getting in the same price range as a Model 3, that'll be an easy sell.
Yeah. Yeah, for someone with a brand affinity towards that car already. So do you get some EVs on trade? So somebody's upgrading from one Tesla to another?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you decide what the value of an EV trade-in compared to an ICE trade-in? Like, do you have any different processes there?
As long as it's under the 8-year battery warranty period, I find that it's a little bit easier. I feel like there's less things I need to worry about when I'm taking it out for like a test drive or kind of looking at stuff, less maintenance. But yeah, I mean, just the normal stuff, looking at auction values,
Yeah.
having a pulse on the market, running some quick numbers based on the range and the miles that it has on the computer. Um, and then looking at some little things like asking them, like when I ask a customer how much range they get in their car and they have a good answer and they could say a couple sentences about it, I kind of get a good feeling. When they choke up and don't say anything, like right away it tells me like something is up, or like they've had more degradation than normal.
That's it.
And then, that same kind of person, I start to look at their car and their tires are bald, their filters have never been changed. It's kind of like,
So
but the people
that's basically your system for like sussing out if there's some battery issue, is like you ask probing questions and see if they come up with good answers. Okay.
you can kind of tell. I mean, it's weird. Like there's all kinds of different people, but you can ask some EV people a few questions and they'll normally give you a good gist of, what kind of car it is.
They're EV drivers too honest for their own good, sounds like.
But if you have someone that comes in and you're like, hey, what kind of range are you getting on 80%? And they're like, oh, like I just don't know. Like I don't know. Like it's 200 or something. And then you're walking around their car and you're like, oh, Mucho Macho tires. What is that? Like, never heard of those. Like, where'd you get that tire? Then you get in the car and it smells like a stinky foot.
Right.
Because they've never replaced the air filter.
Yeah. If you knew and you had a like battery health 93%, reading, would that change how you'd value the trade? I'm just taking that number as an example, but you knew the number basically, and it was a solid number. How would that change your valuation?
I think it would definitely sway me into being more confident, for sure. Are you talking about like buying sight unseen a car that someone is listing on a platform like Recurrent with a battery health?
Yeah,
reading?
sure. I mean, I'm trying to just like suss out like the generally it could be sight unseen, could be that you have the car, but you person brings it in on trade, but all you can see in the Tesla thing is say healthy. It says that for all of them. The difference between that and an actual percentage number, if there's one.
How would that actual percentage be ascertained? Like on a Tesla Model 3, for instance?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it was a car that was coming through Recurrent, the way we do it is to look at the last essentially 5 charging sessions and taking an average of those, essentially capacity estimate. So it's basically like what, if I don't know if you run the Tesla self-test before, like where you keep the car plugged in and it runs it overnight and everything like that. So it's like doing that 5 times in a row to see what the result is.
Gotcha.
So similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a lot of guessing work out of, what you're really getting into in terms of like the powertrain of the car, which is huge,
Yeah. So I guess it gives you more confidence, but the question is, does that confidence turn into a different number for you?
I'm pretty confident in just buying a Tesla under warranty with powertrain warranty.
Yep. Okay.
I very rarely see them where they're that degraded, where it's making some kind of, some problem that I need to get taken care of. I think we've had 2 batteries replaced under warranty the whole time we've been selling Teslas. They were both on Model 3s. They both had an old battery on a standard range, and they were upgraded to an LFP battery.
Okay.
Which was pretty awesome. They typically upgrade you as long as you're okay with it, which I don't know who would not want that. But I think where it would make me more confident and maybe buy more cars are on the cars like 80 to 120,000 miles. Like if I'm buying some like lesser price point cars that don't have as much warranty or completely out of warranty, having a like a definite, not a definite, but having a very certain, fairly accurate reading of the battery would definitely help me pay more for that car.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about the retail side of that situation? Like if you were to be able to say, when you're selling a car, when you're listing it, hey, this car is at 95%, or this battery is at 95% state of health, or 90% or 82% or whatever the number is, like, would that change the way you price vehicles?
It hasn't yet, but I could definitely see a future, especially on some of these older cars. As like a Model 3 starts to become a 8, 9, 10-year-old car, and people are wondering, how much range is on this car, and you got a report showing 90%. I mean, I think that's going to allow us to sell it for more and allow both parties to be more confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun fact, the owner of our company actually has a 318,000 mile Model 3. I think we bought it from an auction. The guy used it as Uber, and then he's just kind of got a bunch of stuff fixed up on it, and the thing is still running great.
Yeah. Huh. That's wild. Yeah. Okay. How about this question? Is there a sweet spot for somebody who's trading in an EV, like around like number of miles or vehicle age or something like that you feel like right now is a good time to get a good value when you're going to upgrade, basically?
On an EV in general, having an 8-year battery warranty, I tell people, hey, if you are going to trade it, try to leave like a year of the battery warranty. Try to leave like 5 to 10,000 miles wherever you're trading it into or selling it. If it's Carvana or CarMax, like whatever, they're just big. They don't care, and they'll just make you an offer and just sell it. But at a lot of places like me, I want to know that the car has some kind of warranty on it. So I'm not putting a bunch of money into something that might blow up on me next week. But in terms of like when to get rid of it, was that one of your questions?
Yeah, just like I guess assuming you're sticking with an EV and you're getting you're upgrading to a newer one. Like, is there a good time or like a sweet spot for you to trade in, your older one?
So I feel like so many people get caught up in the hoopla of like hardware 3, hardware 4. Oh, I need hardware 4.
It's like a 3.5 in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like with electric cars, people kind of get caught up in the marketing and the hoopla of the software, the hardware, and like what's going on, kind of like wanting the new iPhone every year. I feel like people compress. They don't want to own their EV as long because they get caught up in the marketing. Like, oh, I have to have hardware 4, for this. It's like, do you really? Like, what is hardware 4 really going to do to you? And by the way, did you know hardware 5 is going to be out next year too? So, you're making a big case about that, but, might as well wait 2 more. I think people should wait a little bit longer to like maybe make more of an exponential jump before they decide to get rid of their car, because they might give up too much value when getting rid of it less than 3 or 4 years.
Wait, so this is so what I'm hearing is a car dealer telling people to not buy cars as often as they do. Am I getting that right?
I'm not a financial advisor, but I think it would be wise for your like life. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, I don't think it's going to affect me. And it goes back to our dealer. One of the reasons I like working for our company and our owner, we're honest. We do the right thing. We try to guide people, and we try to kind of act like a consultant a lot of times in what someone's looking for and what their needs are. And I mean, it's just the snowball effect of doing it for so long, not just with EVs, but we have a ton of non-EV buyers that come back to us. And like last week, I had a guy, he's like, hey, Tony, he's like, my C63 AMG, you sold me 4 years ago, and, it's still in good shape, just put new tires. My wife wants a BMW X6. He's like, I know you got a lot of Teslas, but what can you do for me? And I still go out and help those clients. Like if I could find them a car, it's not hard. Like I'll go out there and find them what they want. And, I always try to make a little bit of an EV pitch, but I try not to be too pushy because most people know what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for joining this episode of EV Insider. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.